Hello everybody and welcome back. This is Mystic Games. Today we're going to be doing a tier list and we're going to be doing it on Dicefolk. You guys can see I actually have Dicefolk running in the bottom there. I made this tier list, all me. I don't think anyone's done a tier list on the DLC yet, so I will be the first to do so. The Theloid, which is their starter, I'm going to do as in the Lloyd ranking, even though the Lloyds were on the last one, I put them in A and B. I'm actually going to say this is an A tier. I think this is generally better than the other Lloyds that you get. I almost would say it's S tier. What it does is it gives you control over dice as a spell, and it gets 2 usages of it. You obviously start with 3 of them, so that's 6 or 3 dice per turn that you can change. That includes the enemy dice. So it allows you to re-roll dice, which is pretty strong in this game. So I think they're a solid A tier unit. Next we're going to do the snail, which is called Gastrolodron, because it has a cauldron on its back, and it's a spellcastery Chimera, so it has a witch's hat. I do like the design of this; it's very cool looking. It has a good amount of health, so it's a tanky creature. It has 2 intellect, and what it does is every time you gain mana, whether it be from dice or from other Chimera, it inflicts 2 poison on a random opponent. I'm putting this in C. As I said, I'm not a big fan of using poisons and stuff. I don't think they're bad. I just think the damage over time, unless you have a specific team build around it, is very solid. You usually want to just inflict as much damage as possible. If this did like AoE poison to everything, I would say it would be better for, 2 poison to hit all targets on mana gain. There are combos with the Chimera in this list, though, that you could do some insane stuff with this thing. Next, we're going to talk about pretty much the blob here. Your classic blob. He has some treasure in him. His name is School Rule. And he's pretty much the same health as him. He's tanky. He has 3 spell casts. And he has 4 damage. And pretty much what he does is if he's in the lead, you gain between 3 and 4, or 0 and 3 gold at random. And if not, you gain focus. So essentially, if you're in lead and you cast his spell, he'll give you gold. If he's not in the lead, he gives you focus. I'm going to put him in B tier. I actually think his ability is decently useful. If you're not, like if you don't have him in the lead, you get him focused up, you throw him back into lead the next turn. There's a lot you can do. And then if you're in lead with him, you can just use him as a gold grinder. So if you get him early on, he can be very solid for that. Just a good Chimera in general. Now we have Galamoli. This was the other plant that I was talking about when I was talking about the healer in the last video. This is S tier. So what Galamoli does is it has no health, it has pretty low attack, it has 5 spell casts at 2 intellect. Depending on where you find it in the run, it might have a little bit higher stats. They tend to give you more when you're, getting it at a higher level. But what the spell does is it heals a target by 2 HP. So you click on him, you click the spell on him, and then you click on one of your 2 Chimera allies, and you can heal him for 2. This is also based on int, so if you get a bunch of int, you can get his heal up quite high. I had my Galamoli, I found it immediately in my run, and I was able to get the heal up to about 11 int by the end of the run, and I was essentially just taking damage and just healing it out. And I also had the iridescent version, so I would just click the heal and it would heal both my allies for 11. It was pretty insane. That's an S tier. It's better than the old one because you can control the spell target. The other one is it randomly hits one of your allies, and then the other healer, which is the piece of toast looking creature, only hits the leader slot, and so you can't control where the heals are going. This creature allows you to control where your heals are going, which is super good. It also allows you to control when the heal happens. So you can let your Chimera get hit, and then heal them that turn. Or you can heal them before, then let them get hit, you know, if they're going to die. So it gives you a lot more control than the turn ends healing. Not saying those two are bad, I'm just saying this one is by far superior just because it's targetable. And then once you get it up to the iridescent version, I would say it's on par with the other one at turn end, because it essentially does the same thing, but that one is for free. The only advantage the iridescent version has is you can target. You can use it when you want. So that's a slight advantage, but they would both be S tier in my opinion. Anyways, Axe Hound is next. Pretty much what he does is he has one spell attack, and what that spell attack does is it attacks a random opponent. So he randomly gets to hit one opponent. He's a B tier, he's a support. You put him in the back and you click on his spell, and he deals his damage to an opponent. Unfortunately, he only gets one charge, so he's not that great because he lacks charges of the spell. But if you have ways to regain mana, he's pretty solid. I did use him. I don't think he's great by any means, but I do think he's usable. I think he's a basic support. Pretty much right now what we got is all support. Next you have Ashigaro, which is the giant toad here, with his pretty much like a bazooka gun he has going on. He has above average health, not as high as some of the tanky guys here. His damage is only 5. He has 10 int to start, and he has no mana. So what his spell does is he deals 10 damage based on intellect to every opponent, but he has no mana to start. If you have ways to gain mana, this guy is super good. Even without ways to gain mana, if you're playing the Wills Talisman, you will have mana on your on your dice, and he is definitely an A tier. He's an A tier support. You put him in the back line, and you just when you get mana, you put it on him. He deals anywhere from 10 to 30 damage to the enemy team, if not more. That's just insane. So it's good. He's good for spreading damage about and taking out targets in the back line that you might not be able to hit with your leader. And it hits everything, so there's no targeting at all. Next, we're going to talk about Kokochia, which is a frontliner. It's the egg here. Reminds me of the witch. I forgot what the story is from Russia, but that with the house that walks around and stuff. Baba Yaga. It reminds me of Baba Yaga's house. Pretty cool design as well. All the designs for the Wills are pretty cool, I think. I think they kind of fit the theme. But this is supposed to be like a Baba Yaga walking egg creature. Its name's Kokochia. It has a ton of health. It has not much attack, but it is supposed to be an attacker. Like, you wouldn't use this as a support. What it does is when it gets attacked, it has a chance of granting 1 mana to a random ally. So it's pretty solid because you can use this, be in the front, right? You have him in the back, he gets hit, gives him mana, and then you do 30 damage. I'm going to put it in B for now. I'm trying to think if any of the other... I'm trying to think if he's A tier as an attacker, because he's kind of a defense attacker, which I'm not really fond of, but his ability is actually pretty solid. I'm going to put him in B for now. He would be the first one on the list that you would use as your main slot, like your leader slot. So next we're going to talk about Curlin. Curlin is a pretty beefy boy as well, but has more damage on him. And it grants 1 mana to the new leader. So this, if you're rotating your team around, this is a very good Chimera. The thing with Wills is you don't have to rotate your team. So this has more consistent mana regen than this does because you know you're getting it when he leaves. And you also know the target. But this is going to be able to proc more in theory because he's going to get hit. So give or take, I think these guys are about equivalent in power. The only difference is the control you get with this one. I would say he's probably A if you have good dice, but without dice, he's probably B. Like later game, he's probably better than Kokochiro but early game, they're about the same. Late game, when you have more dice and you've upgraded your dice and you have control over your rotation, he's probably A. Because you know who you're going to give your mana to every time. Next, we're going to talk about Verosaurus, which is a mix between a raptor and a T-Rex. I think that's what they're kind of going for here. It looks really cool. It has like plumes that are made out of almost like jungle feathers, it looks like. So it's a nifty creature. It's one of my favorite new Chimera for this expansion. I think it just looks awesome. Anyways, what this does is it has medium health, good damage, and every time you cast a spell, he attacks. With this talisman, he's an A. And we're focusing mostly on the talisman that we're using per Chimera here. Like, him with him is just a ton of damage, because you use his spell, you get spell on him, use that, he deals damage, he hits when he attacks, and then you have him in the front line just beating on people as well. Just a solid Chimera to have on the team with a bunch of mana casting Chimera. Next you have the armor here, the golem, which is a sword in his head, and he's pointing to it like, ow. Very interesting creature. So it has a little bit above medium like life. It has low attack, and it has int that every time you cast a spell, it gains 3 strength for the rest of the turn. This is an A tier as well. Arguably, he could be better than Vevosaurus, but it depends on how much intellect you get on him, because he's based on intellect. I would say Vevosaurus is probably better as your leader than he is, but he's a good secondary choice out of these Chimera for a leader because of the ability to gain strength when spells are cast. You're generally always looking at least 6, and if you get his int up, you can get pretty strong in a turn, because if you're casting 2 spells per turn, he gets pretty tough. Again, you want to use him with spellcasters. You don't want to have these on the same team. They don't really support each other. But I think he's a solid A. I think he's slightly behind Vevosaur. I think he has more potential than Vevosaur in a sense, but they're pretty solid, both of them, to get as a leader. Next, we're going to talk about Thanastock. It's the I don't even know what you would call this creature here. It's like a lamb, but it's not really a lamb. It's like a fake lamb, and its mouth is underneath the lamb's head that's on top. Just a crazy looking creature. And then it's like mixed with some sort of like water creature from like lore that I couldn't even fathom to think of what it's called. Anyways, what he does is he's probably like upper medium health, a little bit better than your other 2 up here that I would say are good leader slots. And he has good damage, and he has int. So what happens is when mana is gained on the team, if he's in lead, he attacks. If he's not in lead, he just deals 6 damage to the opposing leader. I'm going to put him in a solid B, because he's good as both a support and he's good at being in leader as well, but he's not good at either job. You're generally going to want to pick int or attack to focus on with this creature to make him better. That's pretty much how he works. Next is Carnibuff, which is another leader slot character. Carnibuff is like a elephant rhino that walks on 2 legs. He's bipedal. Kind of cool design. He looks cooler in game, like his actual art, like when he's moving around and stuff, than I think his picture gives him credit for. So he has solid health, and he has pretty high attack. He's meant to be kind of like a leader slot creature as well. So every time you cast 2 ally spells, he gains focus. He's a solid leader as well. Honestly, looking at him now and then looking at the golem, I would actually say they're about equivalent. Because if you cast 2 spells and he gets focus, he has higher base damage. He's going to deal double damage for a hit, but I guess it's only 1 hit where he can benefit from multiple hits. So that's an interesting way to look at it. I think he's overall going to be stronger, especially towards the end game, whereas he is probably stronger in the beginning of the game. He's strong throughout the game. That's all I really got to say about Carnabath. He's really simple. He gains focus every time you cast 2 spells. He's in your leader slot. You have 2 guys in the back casting spells. They buff him up. He punches somebody. Very simple creature. Potamora is this creature with a pot on its head. It's like a crab that uses a pot as a head. Very strange to me. It has decent amount of health. It has low damage, and it has 2 spell casts. What it does is it grants guard to a random ally, including self. The fact that you can't target it makes it not as good as it would be if you can target. Because you could technically cast a spell, get guard. The guard may not be used that turn, and then cast guard next turn, and it might randomly cast on the same Chimera, and then you just wasted your spell cast. I'm going to put him in C. And I don't think he's bad. I just think his role, if he could target the guard, he would be way better. The fact that he can't makes him a lot weaker, I think. Next, we're going to talk about Papi Kami, which is our paper airplane book crane here. He has moderate health, upper moderate health, 5 damage, 3 mana cast, and 5 intellect. So what he does is whenever he casts a spell on an ally, he gives it 5 int for the rest of that turn. So anything that's int based that does damage based on int will get or any kind of buff based on int will gain 5 that turn. So this could be used with the healer, right? Maybe you have 5 healing, but your leader's hurting real bad and you want to give it a little bit more. You could cast a spell on that to give it more healing, and then shoot your healer with it, or shoot your leader with it, and give it a heal. It's a pretty solid bonus. The issue is, how often are you going to want to give intellect instead of hitting something in the face by blowing it up or by punching it? There's a lot of reasons, like some of the other minions, in my opinion, are a little bit better here than the Papi Kami. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's very, very situational. Therefore, I'm putting it in C. It has to work with a specific team members, and honestly, the best team members are usually healers to give into. Because damage is not really that important to upgrade that much normally, especially towards the end rounds. Next, we have Kagomir. His ability is once he runs out of mana, he deals 15 damage to the opposing leader. He is really bad. His iridescent version is super strong. His iridescent version would probably be A tier. I still think he's weaker than the Toad, but you can literally just deal like 15 plus damage to the opposing leader every turn if you have the iridescent version. That's why I would rate it up as an A. But as a regular version, it's not that good. You have to use up all the mana, then it deals 15 damage. It has 3 mana, so it does take time to get through it. And then even if you get through it, you're getting 115 thing of damage, and then at best you have a mana dice. You throw 1 mana on it the next turn, and then you do it again. But it's very RNG dependent, so we're going to put him down there. Also, all of the ones in C are support, just so everybody knows. I'm not ranking them by strength like I am up here. This is probably the best support so far, other than the healer. Next, we're going to talk about Yi Din. Yi Din is pretty awesome. I actually wrote down what he did, and I don't have it on me, but good thing I remember. So what his ability is cast a spell, and it's called Make a Wish. It doesn't tell you what it does. He has decent moderate, like upper moderate health, about the same as your Vavasaur and this guy right here. He has 6 attack, which is decent as well, and then he has 3 spell casts. So when you cast 1 spell, which again he's a genie, so 3 spell casts. When you cast a spell, it gives you support attack, and you can target whatever Chimera on your team you want with it, and it will just do an attack. You then have move right, and you have move left. If you get the iridescent version, it gives you support attack as well, so you can pick any Chimera on your team to hit the enemy and the opposing leader. It has move to leader, and then it has cheat dice, which cheat dice essentially is a reroll of a dice. I actually think that's the weakest. I don't think the iridescent version, adding that, makes it really better than the basic version. I think they're pretty much comparable in power. But I will say, as a support, I think it's an S tier support. Having the ability to either move your Chimera in either direction, so essentially you can swap it out, or get a additional attack in every turn, that's guaranteed by just clicking on it, is very, very powerful. Solid support unit. The game I was healing everybody with was this, and Vavasaur, and I pretty much dominated it. The next creature we're going to be talking about is Diabora, which is the flying dragon, which is super cool art. I really like this. The name reminds me of Diabora from freaking Dragon Ball Z. Anyways, he's a pretty interesting creature. He has a little bit above the medium health, I'd say. He's in the lower upper health area. He does 6 damage and he has 3 spell cast. What his spell does is it inflicts 3 petrified on a random opponent. Super fun idea. The issue with the spellcast is on the standard version, you can't target it. Which means it's going to be randomly distributed, and you need 10 to even kill anything, so you need to be able to give this more spell energy. So in a long game, super good. I'm actually going to put him as a B tier support, because... Well, actually, I should put him in C with my rules, because he needs additional assistance to really work. Even with the dice you have, like, you're unlikely to be able to kill a Chimera with him. You have to kind of get really lucky with him with the random targeting. I'm assuming the iridescent version I haven't seen yet allows you to target, and if that's the case, that's absolutely nuts. Anyways, next we're going to talk about Pandora Dora. And what Pandora Dora does, it's a box that looks like it has a kitten in it, but it's supposed to be like an evil spirit. What it does is, it has no health, it has no damage. It's like a 6 health baseline creature. It has 1 attack and 1 mana, but that 1 mana can destroy a dice. So you use this on your enemy. When you put it in the back line, and it destroys an enemy dice. I'm going to put this as an A tier support behind the gun wielder here, and behind these two, because I find these more useful. But being able to destroy an enemy dice is so strong, and there are ways to regain mana, so every turn you can just destroy an enemy dice, and you essentially just take away a move. That is very powerful. It gets better, obviously, as the game goes on. You get more dice, you get more mana, you get more control, but it's a very solid choice. I would actually like to see what the iridescent version is. I haven't ran into it yet. But that's super strong. Anyways, on to our final Chimera for the Wills DLC here. We have Lamararu, which is like a flying llama. Kind of like a mix between a Western dragon, or Eastern dragon, I should say, and a llama that flies in the air. And it kind of looks like it has clouds around it. Anywho, it has above average health. It has 5 attack and 5 spellcast. What this thing does is simple. This is a spellcaster that gives more mana to your team. It has relatively decent stats. It's a solid choice for a Chimera on your team, especially towards the end of the run. I'm actually going to put this in B tier, because I think it's the best. I don't want to put it in A, because I don't think giving mana is super strong unless you have the right Chimeras on your team. But it is just a strong ability to give another Chimera mana. So like if you have him on your team and you have the Toad, you give the Toad mana, this thing attacks, the Toad has mana now, he drops, hits 30 damage, he attacks again, plus you get all your dice attacks. That's a pretty strong combo. There's a lot of combos you can do with the other Chimera in him that makes him super good. Not good enough to be an A tier, but good enough to be like a nice average pick. Gets better as the game goes on. It's one of those kind of Chimera. The Chimera, like on A and above, generally just work with what you have to work with in the beginning, so they only get better, whereas B is kind of solid. A lot of them gain power as you go, and then C is just very RNG dependent. So I think gaining mana is better than gaining int as well. I'm going to put the Petrify probably here, because the Petrify is a random targeting. And I actually think the random guard is better than the random Petrify, to be honest. Anyways, guys, that's the Wills DLC. So we finished all the Dicefolk's content really at this point. I might do a little bit of conversation on the items that you can get from the game and do a tier list on that, because some of the items are very interesting. The issue with that is I definitely have to have the game up for the items, because I cannot, I don't know them all by heart, because there's some I just do not use because I don't think they're that good. Anyways, I hope you guys are enjoying the content, and get out there and throw some dice today, alright? I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.